Hello, and welcome back to part 3 of the 911 rescue. Your rescue is coming. So, I wanted to come on and come back for the next part. And this is where it gets gooder and gooder, okay? So, what happened next was they're on the plane. She got her people on the phone. And she's talking with air traffic control because there's something wrong with the pilot. They needed a pilot and a co-pilot. One was unconscious because he just couldn't. I don't know what actually hit the plane to cause all of this confusion to happen in the first place. But the pilot himself, the main pilot, he was unconscious, uninjured, but he was just unconscious. The passenger pilot, meaning the secondary pilot that they have in the case of an emergency to help guide the plane, he was the one that needed heart assistance, and they needed to assist him. So they had to get somebody on the phone. She had her people on. They managed to get in touch with her people, and each one of them had to get onto their individual phones to talk to the person that was doing the assisting at that time, because she needed to be on the main phone to be able to figure out how to get them down, because now you got a bigger problem. You know what a bigger problem was? They need to get from where they are to where they're going, and both of the pilots are unconscious. So guess what? She got to fly the plane. Emergency. Some of you are called to be leaders. And right now, all the world groaneth and wait for the children of God to take their positions. You need to fly your plane, whatever it is that God has called for you to do, and it's an emergency. If you're watching what is happening in society right now, all the world is groaning and wait for the children of God to take position. There is a specific need in each and every sector for God's people to come into position desperately right now. And they need to come in and do what's needed and necessary. They got to fly this thing. God wants and has a position specifically for them. This is why no counterfeit could take this position. No other individual could take this position. Only a child of God could take this position. In some cases, look at it from a spiritual perspective. The pilots were unconscious. What does that remind you of? It reminds you of the fact that, hello, they're literally asleep. And it was two men. Take that how you want to take that. Adam was asleep. Sometimes God allows for people to be asleep. Number one, his glory. Let's take Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was in the garden talking to the Lord. But guess what? God's presence was in that space. I truly believe that Jesus didn't take into account that when God's presence fell on him and in his distress, that it was going to be so much of a weight. And this is what I truly believe, that the weight of his distress, aside from the weight of God on him, literally the disciples could not stay awake underneath of that much spiritual fortitude. Because think about every other point in time when the glory of God fell, right? Think about how much was going on in the spirit and in the natural around him at that particular point in time. I don't think the disciples couldn't stay awake because they just didn't want to. I think it was because the atmosphere was so heavy at that point, they couldn't stay awake. It's a different way to think of it. So it was time for this woman to take position because she had the spirit. Think about it. You got the spirit. The women of God, we carry a level of spirit and spiritual force. Can't nobody else do what we do. Can't nobody else stand in the position because of the level of spirit. And I was doing some study on this even earlier today when it came down to the spirit of God and how the spirit fell and how the spirit interacts with individuals. You have to recognize that, and can't nobody do what you can do, because the spirit is only going to do what? Fall on those that are walking with him. So that's the only way that she was able to fly that plane. Now, they were guiding her through the process of what she needed to do, because she was like, what you mean I got to fly the plane? Some of you, God wants to take you into positions arbitrarily, and you may not even know the position that he's about to shift you into. She didn't know she was going to end up on that plane needing to fly that plane. Some of you, there's a need, coming back to David and Goliath. David walked into that situation with no knowledge that Goliath was even there. Why? Do you remember why David was there? I'll give you 10 seconds. David showed up on the battlefield with one job, and what was it? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To bring lunch to his brothers. That was it. She showed up trying to take this guy on transport. And think about it. Some of y'all be complaining when all kinds of hell break loose around you, and you be like, well, I gotta do this, I gotta go here, I gotta switch transports, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And you don't have the wisdom to understand God allowed all of those things to happen to place you in a position, because had she not been on that plane, think about this, with the ability to make a call to a group of 911 operators, somebody might have made a call from the plane. But what would that one person have been able to do if they were on there and nobody else was on there? What, they were going to go into the cockpit and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. They would have been a regular bystander, and they would have had to guide them through it. And it's like, they wouldn't have known what to do if she hadn't been on that plane. But she was used to what? Emergency situations. Why? Because she was a 911 responder as a police officer. So she was ready to handle any type of situation. God has prepared you to handle any type of situation. She works around people that have to handle emergency situations. So even though she may not have wanted to have to fly the plane, she knew how to handle herself in an emergency situation. For had it been somebody that just called in to 911 to say, this is my emergency. Oh my God, the plane is this, and this is happening, and they would have had to calm that person down and all of this kind of stuff. And then other people would have been calling and all this kind of, they'd have got a slew of phone calls and everybody saying everything, and it would have been a hot mess. But because she was already on the plane, they knew who to direct their concerns towards, and she was able to, hold on, I got y'all, I'm a call and make a call to the people that I know can give y'all the assistance needed and necessary. Sometimes, and I want to clarify something. I said that in the previous word, the end of part 1, that God will sometimes allow you to be in association with someone that, because the person that you need to make contact with is not your direct contact, because they're unable to get to you. God, let's talk about Rebecca. Rebecca was supposed to be in touch with Isaac, but the servant had to go get her. Remember? She didn't directly have contact or communication with Isaac. She didn't even, it was Abraham that got the servant to go get her. So that's 3 different levels of separation before she even got in contact with Isaac, right? So for some cases, y'all, when it comes down to you and your spouse, there may, seek God for this, if there's an intermediary that has to be, as these people were the triage individuals, they were not the medical professionals. They were not the ones caring. The servant was not the one that this promise was for. It was for Rebecca and it was for Isaac. But he was the intermediary that had to take care of the situation. These individuals, and sometimes the Lord will allow it to be this way in order to bring forth a witness. I was watching something the other day on TikTok, and a woman was saying sometimes God will allow it to be the situation to be that way, where he'll have somebody drive you, have somebody do this for you, have somebody to be the go-between, have somebody to do that. Why? Because he needs them to witness the miracle as it's happening. That there will always be a witness. Right? So these individuals, we already know the three people that needed assistance. I'm trying to remember if there was a fourth or not, but we're not going to stay on that because something else was going on here. Okay? She has to fly this plane. Some of you, and I need you to get this with your spiritual ears, you need to come in for a landing. You need to get to where you're supposed to go. My pastor's been on this recently. She's been talking about the fact that you got to get to where you're supposed to be. Come hell or high water, you got to get to where God needs for you to be. And God will arrange situations, I don't care what it is, in order to make sure you safely arrive to where he needs for you to be in this season. When it's time, it's time. And if he has to rush and suddenly switch a situation in order for, because remember, she had to get on that plane. She wasn't initially supposed. She was in a car. She was driving that guy by car. And she had to get on the plane. But it wasn't about her getting on the plane to get him where he needed to go. Yet, that was important. It was about what? Getting her on the plane because she had the connection and the assistance that would be the support in order to lead these people out of this scenario. Now, I was watching something by Dana Ray the other day. And she was making the point of saying that when it's time for you to come out, God will lead you out. For some of you, your spouse needs to be led out. But coming back to her, she needed to be led out of that situation. She don't know how to fly no plane. So who's going to lead her out? The people that work at the airport traffic control. And as we have seen, there's been a lot of things happening with airport traffic control as of lately, right? Okay. Weird incidents and issues that have been happening with airport traffic control, whether it be power outages and so on and so forth. So what they needed to do was they needed to show her and walk her through the process, because I don't recall if she had sights to be able to see where her plane was, nor did she truly understand how to get out of that situation. God may be preparing to put you in a situation. You have a skill set, but you're blind to a level and degree to how to use it in the situation that God's going to put you in. Because you're going to be like, wait, I mean, I know how to do this, but I don't particularly know how to do this way. Or I may have understanding. Thank you, God. He reminded me. There was a little boy. And God's reminded me of the scripture. The little boy that came with the fish and the 5 loaves, right? This little boy had to assist her because she needed a second co-pilot, and the actual pilot needed to be taken out of his seat too. So she said, can you help me? And the little boy, because she had called, she's like, anybody here know anything about flying a plane? And the little boy came up and he said, well, I don't know how to fly a plane, but what I can say is I've been on to multiple airplane simulators, so I understand the controls in order to help. And assist. She said, hey, sit down. I ain't got nothing else. I don't have nothing else. Sit down. So it's like, how that work out for you? He said, I never really got the plane to land, but I mean, she's like, I got nothing else. We gonna work this out. We gonna figure this out together. We're gonna work this out. Meanwhile, her husband's still on the set trying to figure out what in the world is it that I'm doing over here, because I don't know. Because the rest of the team had been systematically coming back to him and visiting him at their apartment to say, we need you to come back to work because we really need you over here. And he was becoming bored. He's sitting there thinking about this while he's watching them try to figure out how to do this scene in this TV series. And like the main star of the TV series was like, let me put it to you this way. TV series that he was supposed to be doing an attendance for, you know how Angela Bassett is like probably the leading actress to be in 911 because she's like a Oscar winning actress. That's what this show was with the main lead character that was on this TV series. So he couldn't be on the phone like that and all of that. But the guy, of course, on most TV shows like that, they always make that person pompous, right? Arrogant. Right? So he's sitting there like, oh God. And the guy, every time he gets out of the scene, wants to sit down and have a conversation with him. So I want to know everything it is to know about what it is to really be a 911 chief at a what do you call it? Emergency firehouse. How does that really work? I want to know what does it feel like to. And he's sitting there like, he's like, I want to shadow you. I want to know everything it is about. He's like, I really don't know what to tell you. Now, meanwhile, side story. If you've ever watched this show, it's two females. One works in the paramedic side, and then it's another female that works on the, I don't know whether she works in the 911 office, but she works at one of the other major positions. And she's, I don't know whether she's married to the other woman or what it is, but it's a lesbian couple. Now, there's another storyline that was going on there where they were trying to get their adoptive daughter back because their adoptive daughter was taken out of their home. And now they're talking about because their daughter was put into the household of the Asian guy and Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, they're like, this person was trying to have the daughter pulled from their house. And she's like, what are you talking about? They're going to take the child from their house too. And she knew something else was going on here, meaning somebody was manipulatively extorting position and power to control the firehouse. Now, side note, what actually was going on is from the top, the head of that grouping of people, there was a head that wanted to break up the firehouse, period. So they, number one, removed the chief of the firehouse and put him somewhere he really didn't want to be. Then they started to systematically come after each and remove the head, the body suffers. So what does it also say? A house divided cannot stand. There was somebody operating, and it was a female, operating under mob-like tactics in order to position and reposition. You come to find out the guy that replaced the head of the firehouse was actually in cahoots with this woman that was trying to break up the firehouse. Has it gotten good yet? Has it gotten good yet? So what ends up happening is she's trying to manipulate him by saying, I got you into this position and I'll get you an even more powerful position as if you can help me get into my position, because I think she wanted to be in the Senate. And this chick kind of like remind me of Kamala Harris. She reminds me, I'm not saying, come on now. she resembles her highly. And I was like, that's interesting they chose to go with that direction, but okay. All right. And she was trying to manipulate her posture to get into this particular position, in this particular seat in the political standing. So she was trying to come after this one particular person. And I'm going to get into the scripture on this, because I was literally reading Acts, and maybe that's why God had me separate from y'all to stop the broadcast earlier, because he had me in the book of Acts. And the breakdown in Acts, I don't know what in the world is going on downstairs, but yeah. But it's something going on in the park. But literally there is a woman that's fighting to get position. Sound familiar to anybody? She's using her authority to manipulate each individual to assist her to move other people in the firehouse out the way. Anybody remember my Cinderella 3 review? But let's go back to the scripture that talks about in Acts. If you pay attention to Acts, it talks about the fact that when Peter and the rest of the apostles, it was Peter, Barabbas, was John with them? I can't remember. But they were talking about the fact that they were performing miracles, right? Their firehouse was able to do specific things that other firehouse hadn't. They had very tight teamwork. Everything that was done, they were like a family unit. Tight. They were. And this woman was like, I gotta break this up. Much like we see Pontius Pilate in the book of Acts, as you look throughout each of the chapters, that he sees that Peter and the rest of them are really tight, and the fact that they're performing miracles, right? Now think about it. A emergency service worker is in the field, and what they do in order to save people's lives is literally miracles. But they're also the go-between that makes sure that when the person is in their emergency situation, they get them from the emergency location that they're in to the doctors that can actually save their life. They are the what? Support system, right? To make sure that they can get there. And they work in tandem with each other, but they work so smoothly together that they're doing some type of run or race, or I don't know what they're doing in the park. So if you hear that, bear with me. But they work smoothly together. And these people recognized it, so they wanted to use their authority to break it up. Now, what ended up happening, this is where they screwed up. The guy that had taken over the firehouse went to one of the guys that was a committed member of the group, thinking that he wasn't all that connected with everybody, and that he might not be he might have been a newer person, hadn't been there that long, so he didn't have as much of a devotion to everybody as maybe if he had approached somebody else that had been there the entirety of the show or whatever amount of years, So he was figuring, I'm going to approach you. He said, I see potential in you. So because I see potential in you, I want you, if you're looking for a position to get your way up, I need you to be an assistant to me. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Pretty much bribing him. Pause. When you're in a situation where there's a position of power, there may be individuals that will attempt to approach you in order to bribe you to see how committed that you are to God. Okay? At the beginning of this particular episode, he went and visited the fire chief, who was now supposedly retired and dealing with that other position at the being on the set as a DP assistant for that thing. And he was like, I'm not liking this. There's something going on. This guy, he's crooked. And he told the fire chief, which is Angela Bassett's husband on the show, right? He was like, I don't trust him. You need to come back to your job, because I know he's setting up to do something, and it's gonna be crooked, right? So now, meanwhile, something else going on with remember, the woman's trying to get her daughter back, because they had adopted the daughter, and because they had went through the process to adopt this daughter, she trying to get the child back. The child had been in their house for like a year and a half, and now they sitting there talking about, oh, we want to take her out of the house. And she's like, for what? This child has gotten adjusted to our home. This child is loved. We love her. We care for her. And this one of us is, well, we just want to promote and pretty much trying to use the daughter as a way to get her to turn on the rest of them, so that she'll separate herself from the rest of the group. Remember what I said when I was talking about the unit review that I did at the beginning of October, where they were sitting up there trying to manipulate them to separate the grouping of people? When the enemy can't stop you, he will attempt to extort and bribe. As according to Exodus 18:13 through 26, it talks about the fact that God wants trustworthy individuals associated with what it is that he's doing. He needs these individuals to be trustworthy so that it's properly aligned, right? For them to be unbribable and uncovetousness. These two, the young woman that was fighting for her daughter, and this other man who got information about this new the new chief of the firehouse, said, I don't know, right? It's like we ain't. I don't know whether the woman went and talked to the young man as well, but she knew something was going on, so she was gonna stand for their daughter to come back in their house. Get between a mama and her child. That's all I gotta say. Get between them. I don't care if they adopted the child or not. Sometimes the Lord will test you in that situation. Are you willing to fight for this thing? Were you emotionally connected to this situation? Were you really for real about this thing? Because remember, sometimes God will create a situation where Abraham, I'm in need for you to take your child up this mountain and sacrifice him to me. This woman was going through a situation. Her daughter was at risk of being sacrificed and handed over to somebody else. So she was seeking a ram in the bush type situation, right? She needed help. So this is all going on while Althena's still in the air. Right? This is the back end stuff that's happening while Althena's in the air. Meanwhile, the young man, he figured out, can't nobody get in touch with Althena's husband. Communication. Sometimes God has to send you support from another location, coming back to the fact the servant came because the spouse couldn't come. And in some cases, the spouse was praying. The young man, Isaac, remember, he was praying in Bethel, the same place that Hagar was praying, and she named the place, right? He was over there praying. Sometimes you might not have access to your spouse in this season, but they over there praying too. They praying for you to stay in order. They praying for you to stay in position. They're praying for you to continue to pray for them. They are in prayer. Some of y'all be sitting there thinking, this man ain't making no contact. He over there looking like whatever. And you like, he ain't. Oh, no. He over there praying too. He praying. And sometimes they really are praying, because in some cases they in an emergency. I told you in the first part that some of them, the enemy want to take them out, because they know that they the source to be connected to you. That if they get to you, this is why when God says pray for your spouse, you best to pray for that man like his life depends on. In some cases, it might. Okay. So I'm gonna need you to stand in that gap. For real. So stand in the gap for that man. Okay? He's over here trying to figure out what's going on, because the guy is talking his ear off in relation to, I want to know everything about what it is to be a fire chief and this, that, and the other, and what is it really like, and this, and he's like, goodness gracious. And his phone's still off. They blowing his phone up. They done called him like 5, 6 times. His wife called him once. The people at the fire station, where you at, bro? Your wife is calling you. It's an emergency. So one of them get the common sense to say, you know what? I'm going to go over there to the set to let him know, because I don't think his phone is on. He's like, oh, somebody caught some common sense and went over there and called him to get him physically. Because they were like, look, some of you, your spouses, don't know what's going on in your situation. They might be praying. They might be in a situation, but they don't particularly know, and the enemy's trying to keep them oblivious by keeping them busy with things that are not important. And then trying to manipulate to keep them caught up in stuff. Because if they knew that maybe you needed assistance or help, potentially they would be right on their way. This man didn't know his wife needed his help. Because had he known, he'd have been on that. He'd be like, bye. I gotta go help my wife. Bye. Hello. I gotta go. Because as soon as that young man got there, he was like, oh, I'm out. I gotta go. And the guy's like, I still want to know everything about what it is to be can I go with y'all? Can I go with y'all? I was like, I really don't want you to go with me, but okay, we gotta go. And he's like, okay. So they went and got on, and they didn't have I don't know if he took a bike over there. I don't know what he took to get there, but they didn't have a vehicle. So they ended up taking the prop fire truck to go try to help her, right? God will use whatever it is that you have around you, even if he gonna make it work with you. So, meanwhile, she's sitting there trying to get this plane to fly. She's tracking her gauges, and you know what happened. As she's trying, she's like, okay, we got this. Things are moving smoothly. You told me to flip this switch. Boom, we got this. Young man, he does what the little boy, he does what he can do on his end. They both managed to get the thing on order, and then all of a sudden, of course, something else blows out, and it's like, this thing blew out. It's like, what blew out exactly? It was like something in relation to the gas pump thing. How much is your gauge for your gas? They were like, it's not much. The one fuel tank went out when the thing went through it at the beginning of this flight, like the middle of the flight. So we was leaking gas anyway, but it just hit another fuel tank, and that can't be a good thing. And they're like, oh no, because you already leaked all the fuel off the other tank because that one blew out. That's your only fuel source, so you gotta land quickly. And it's like, so I can't get to you told me that I could get to the other airport. It's like, you're not gonna make it. It's like, what you mean I'm not gonna make it? It's like, what's the rate of your gas leakage? It's like, well, it's leaking, and she gave a specific decibel amount per fuel loss, and they're like, you might only have about 45 minutes worth of gas. And she was like, well, how far can I get on 45 minutes worth of gas? It's like, not nowhere near airport. So she's like, oh, so where we landing this plane at? It's like, we gotta figure. Stay calm. We gonna help you figure this out. She was like, get my people on the phone. So she got her phone. She calling her people. She's still trying to call her husband. She like, husband, where you? He still got his phone off. But thank God, this is when the guy went over to try to see if he could get assistance from the guy, because his phone was still off. So he was like, I gotta go see if I can get him. Okay? Because this has become a deeper emergency than we thought. Meanwhile, they were able to patch her through to Jennifer Love Hewitt's character. She's like, girl, she's like, I don't even know. And they're like, okay, we're going to see if we can get you to this airport hangar over here. But they're like, we can't get to the airport hangar. They're saying I'm losing too much fuel. So everybody had went over to the other airport hangar and was like, we're going to meet you over there. But something was happening that they weren't getting signal through, that she couldn't get through on the talkies to get to the people that were over there. And it was like 15-20 minutes off of the location that they were going to end up having to shift her to, because they were saying either you gonna have to get to this location, which I think was a bridge, or you gonna have to land in the water. And she was like, Lord, what? I need you to hear me what I'm saying over here, okay? Hear me what I'm saying. Some of y'all are in situations where either you gonna need Jesus to walk you over the water, or you gonna need a bridge. Some of y'all been trying to get to the bridge for the longest period of time. Anybody remember the word I did while I was talking about the bridge? An incident that happened with the bridge in Maryland? You remember that? Some of y'all, the enemy's been trying to blow out your bridge, whatever that bridge was, to get you from where you are to where your spouse is. They don't want you to have enough fuel to get there. They don't want you to have anything to get anywhere near where you're supposed to get. And you sit up and like, I don't got no fuel. Meaning, in some cases, the enemy has been fighting you tooth and nail to prevent you from being able to achieve, being able to have enough energy, fuel, in your body, in your spirit, in your legs, wherever it is, to be able to get to where you got to go. They don't want you to get there. They have no interest in you being able to arrive at your destination. They trying to make sure you have no fuel, that you can't get there. And there's also a miscommunication. Recognize her team was at a different location waiting. There are people. Remember how I said I was talking to some people and they were looking for me? It's like, we've been looking for you for the past couple of days. Some of your people, numbers 11-17, that are supposed to be the ones headhunting you, desiring to get access to you, trying to gain help, they want to support. These are the ones that want to support, help, and get you the assistance that you need. Baby, they over there saying, where are you at? Why? Because the enemy has you under a veil to prevent you from being seen, while the enemy tries to manipulate, coerce, extort, coming back to the woman whose wife they were trying to get that little girl back. They trying to extort to make sure that you don't get what belongs to you and try to hold something that actually belongs to you away from you, which is, some of you, it's the connections. It's the connections. It's the things in which you need in this time and in this season. It's what's needed and necessary that you may be able to receive exactly what's necessary in order for you to accomplish the thing that God has called for you to do. They're trying to make sure that it never gets off the ground. They're trying to make sure, if it has gotten off the ground, that it crashes. And like hell, you won't make it across this bridge. And the people that want to help you, there's a line of miscommunication to make sure that they can't gain access to you. Jennifer Love Hewitt had to figure out, she didn't even know at first. It wasn't until the guy who went and got her husband, Althena's husband, and he called them back to say, she ain't gonna be able to go over there. She can't land. They went and got on the phone with the people at the airport traffic control, and they said she ain't gonna be able to land over there. It's like, so what we gonna do? The husband said, don't worry about it. Let's get, where is it that they gonna try to land her at? I'm going right there. Your husband, hear me when I say this. Your spouse, if he don't get to you, he gonna make sure he's where he needs to be to make sure that you get in on a safe landing. He's orchestrating and aligning the situation. Althena's husband took into action. He's like, I need y'all. He got on the phone with the people that were sitting over at the wrong location and say, get your butts over here to the bridge because we got to get everybody off this bridge because we don't know when that plane gonna land. Because we don't know when she gonna run out of fuel. So I'm gonna need you to make sure you orchestrate to get them folks out of them cars. And we gotta rearrange to make sure that she can land on that bridge. So he took control. Some of you, your husband is in control right now. Some of you, your husband knows exactly what to do. You don't know, because remember, I'm gonna need you to go back to Book of Ruth, y'all. What was it? Boaz did what? Naomi said, he already knows what he needs to do. I'm going to need you to sit and wait. Sit and wait. He's going to make sure this matter is taken care of. He will not rest until this thing is taken care of. Her husband didn't have a choice, baby. He was not going to rest because he knew that she was in that air and she was running out of fuel. He had to make sure. We got to find a landing strip. We got to do what? What are we going to do? And they said, we don't know what we going to do. They got up on that bridge and was like, we got cars end to end on this bridge. That means we got to move the cars. They had to get, number one, they had to get everybody in their cars, out their cars, off the bridge. Because they're like, it's too congested. We need y'all off. So they had to get the people off the bridge because it was too dangerous just in case this plane landed. And secondarily, everybody that was on the bridge, once they team of 4 or 5 people got there, they like, we got to start moving cars because these cars got to be out the way. And then they're sitting up there like, but there still ain't enough landing strip for her to maneuver this plane to get it on this landing strip. It's like, let me tell you, if you ain't see this episode, he said, she don't need it. Move the truck and sit it. She gonna land on top of this truck. And she's like, she gonna land on top of the what? we gonna make sure that if she ain't got nothing else, she gonna land on this truck right here. The fire truck? Line them up. He said, line it up. Line it up. Your spouse is fighting for you. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what it. Sometimes it feels like you don't see what he's doing. You don't see how he's gonna do it. You don't see how God's gonna get this thing taken care of. But guess what? God's got it under control, and he said, I got this. Number one, the Lord himself is fighting. And he's given this man all of the understanding. He may have to move and maneuver however which way he got to go. They had to move vehicles. They had to move cars. They had to do all of this stuff in order to make sure that there was room. Because you gotta... How much weight you think that plane had? That plane was probably several tons with passengers. Do you hear me? Yes. This man was like, we gonna move. And she said, she called back and they said, the air traffic control people are like, well, what are they gonna do? And he's like, well, we got in touch with your husband. And he's like, what? Well, what about it? He's like, well, your team is on the bridge. You're like, cool, all right, they're on the bridge. So there isn't really a landing strip for you to land. And like, then what are we doing? It's like, you gonna land on the vehicle. He's like, what? She said, what do you mean? I need you to explain that to me. She's like, you gotta land this thing directly on top. If you have no strip, you gotta land it on top of the truck. She already wasn't, because they didn't have no landing gear. So they had to make sure that they were going, she wasn't going to be able to land on the ground anyway, because the landing gear literally blew out. So they like, the enemy was doing everything to prevent her from landing. Enemy's doing everything to prevent you from getting where you got to go. And get in safely to land in the area and the space that God has called for you. And she like, well, how are we going to? It's like, don't worry about it. She trying to call her husband like, what you mean, baby? I gotta come. What you mean? I gotta come in and you want to have me land on what? She couldn't get in touch with him. So she's approaching the location. They done moved the cars. They see her plane coming, and you see them on the ground trying to get everything maneuvered. God has your husband in position, getting the people. I'm hearing Obadiah and having the 50 prophets in both of those caves. He got them folks already getting things in position for you to land. There are certain things that he already has wisdom of, he already has knowledge of. God has given him prophetic witnesses, and the people that are supposed to be associating. God gave me this revelation that the witnesses, as according to Numbers 11:17, that are looking for you, that already got the spirit that's supposed to assist you, they're already in touch potentially with your spouse. And your spouse is maneuvering the people, the positions, and the places in order for all things to be ready for when you land. Did you hear me? Did it make sense? So she on this plane trying to figure out how I'm going to land this thing on top of these vehicles. But she's like, okay, we're going to attempt to figure this out. So she got to start going into the descent mode. Her and the boy hit the switches, and they starting to go down. As she's preparing the plane, and she's starting to get in closer, she sees somebody waving, standing on top of a truck, because they moved a truck to sit directly in front of the fire engine that was positioned for her to land on. And this is called trust, marital trust, because he was like, I'ma stand and wave her in. He's like, excuse me? He waved her into position. I need you to hear me with your spiritual ears right now. This man waved her into position. She's on the plane coming in, and she's like, who's that standing on top of the... Oh my God, for real. It was her husband. He had the strip lights to wave her in to stand. He was literally standing, because he knew, you gonna land this plane, because you ain't gonna hit me. You're not gonna hit me. So, and you know, it was like one of those, you see me, I see you, you see me, I see you. And he's like, I don't have to say nothing to you. I know you're not gonna hit me. And it's one of those scenarios, we ain't gonna hit him. So she did the best that she could. She kept him in her sights, and she focused on what he was doing with the directing landing strip gear to wave her in. And she focused on making sure it became bumpy as she was getting in that last little bit of turbulence. But it's like when it came down to her hitting the top of them trucks, it's like she hit it, and you know that she hit it directly. And when I tell you, she's scorching and like, oh, and she's like, she didn't even want to really look. And when she looked up, when she got it to completely come to a stop on top of them trucks, she opened her eyes. You know that tip of the plane. Hear me when I'm telling you, the tip of the plane couldn't have been more than 1 foot away from his face. She looking at him, he looking at her, and he just smiled like, I got you, baby. I got you, baby. And she's like, oh my God. So she goes, coming back to the case, there's an instance. Remember, I have to express this. There's a guy on the plane. Now, she thought she had it covered. But when she landed on that level, you know, the enemy I got to try one more again. Something blew up on the backside of that plane. So now they got to get everybody pushed to one side and help the people off on one of the entrances because the back engine done blew out and part of the plane's on fire. Okay, so everybody had to move out the way. They had to get the ones that needed to be removed, meaning the young girl that had busted her leg. Then they had to get the guy with the tracheotomy thing that he had to get done. They had to get them off first, and then they were trying to get everybody out on the slide. The guy, the husband, he's sitting up there. Well, we got the fire truck. They had that one fire truck that was there. That was the prop truck from the show. And they're like, is anything on this truck work? And they're like, well, we can get I think there was the ladder, and it was something else that was actually usable. So they're like, get it. Because we got to get these people off because the plane's on fire. So meanwhile, she on the plane. I need you to hear me clearly because I have to get this point out. She's the only one that can keep this guy because everybody had been rotating out. Remember, the secondary pilot was having a resuscitation issue with his heart, right? So they had to keep doing compressions on him. So they had to keep rotating people out. It was a person, they would do it for a certain period of time, then they would switch out. The person would do it for a period of time, and they would switch out. So once she was able to land the plane, she said, I need you to get off the plane. So she had that person that was the last one that was a rotation get off. So she's sitting there, and she got to keep that person getting the chest compressions. And she holding it. Meanwhile, remember, the plane is on fire, so it's smoke inhalation. I need to teach you this quick lesson right here. Some people you're trying to help in this season, it's time for you to go. And they do need consistent resuscitation. But God's been telling you, let them go. God's been telling you, let them go. God's been telling you, I need you to let this person go. But you're like, there's no one here to help them but me. I can't let them go. You're suffocating. She was suffocating trying to give this man resuscitation. Some of you are suffocating trying to help the person that needs help, right? And you're suffocating. But God's saying to you, I'm sending you help. You need to let them go and trust that I'm going to give them the assistance that they need. But I'm going to need, she would not stop doing chest compressions until the woman who was the wife to the other woman came in and took her hands and said, I need you to stop. She's like, she looked up because she was focused. Some of you have been focused on helping those people that need help by trying to resuscitate them. God's saying, I guess that's confirmation. God's saying, I'm going to need you to know I got them. Somebody may even come in as you're leaving, but you got to let them go and let that person take over. Okay? When she released, when I tell you she fell back, guess who caught her? Her husband. When you let go, then your husband will be able to catch you. There are people that have been in his life. There are people that have been in your life. You've been trying to resuscitate them, and God's saying, let them go. When you let them go, now I can give you both to each other because I need you both available to one another. Amen. So she fell back directly into his arms. He put the oxygen mask on her face. They got the oxygen that you need. You've been suffocating in the season that you're in. And when you get into touch with them, the oxygen that you need is going to be exactly what they're going to give you. That's exactly what you need. I need you to hear me. It's exactly what you need. They got off the plane and were able to get her off the plane. Moral of the story, because I don't have much time, they needed to get this man, the guy that was supposed to be transported to the police, all this stuff was forgotten. They needed to get him to the transport. When they tried to get him to the transport, what ended up happening is she said, I need you to do one favor for me. She told her husband, I need you to tell a lie. The husband said, oh, she went and did this. And he lied and said that she had already left to transport him in a vehicle. So the two guys that had been tracking that guy went in an opposite direction. So she and her husband went and took the guy personally to the location where the evidence was. When they got there, the guys had figured out that that was the wrong situation and went and tracked them directly to that airport, which is the airport that they were supposed to meet them at in the first place. That's where she was initially supposed to land. So she was going to get to the vehicle, and they got the information out of that vehicle. The number on the keys, I don't remember what it was, but it was an important number. I don't have the notes. But it meant something of importance in relation to communication, and relationship. So as we come to the conclusion of this, what ends up happening is they end up stopping the other two guys and getting him where he needs to go. So that's pretty much the end of the episode. And I stopped watching it at that point. I hope this blessed you. Until next time, I'm running out of space. I love you. Goodbye.